Chapter 13 is about the law of property, real and personal. Property is defined as a bundle of rights in relation to others to possess, use, and dispose of a tangible or intangible object. Real property is defined as land and everything permanently attached to it. Water rights is the legal ability to use water flowing across or underneath one's property. Mineral rights, legal ability to dig or mine the minerals from the earth below the surface of one's land. They also discuss a conditional estate, the right to own and possess the land subject to a condition whose happening or non-happening will terminate the estate. Definition of a deed is an instrument of conveyance of property. Life estate, right to own and possess the land until one dies. Future interest, present right to possess and own the land in the future. A leasehold, the right to possess property for an agreed upon period of time stated within a lease. A lease is a contract that transfers possessory interest in a property from the owner to the tenant. Easement, irrevocable right to use some portion of another's land for a specific purpose. Co-ownership was defined as ownership of land by multiple persons or business organizations. All tenants have an equal opportunity right to occupy all of the property. Tenancy in common, a form of co-ownership of real property in which owners may have equal or unequal shares of the property and may sell their shares without the other's awareness. Joint tenancy allows all owners to have equal shares and they may sell their shares without the consent of the others and that may have interest attached by the creditors. Tenancy by the entirely form of co-ownership of real property allowed only to married couples in which one owner cannot sell without the consent of the other, and the creditors of only one owner cannot attach the property. Mention condominiums. Owner acquires a title to a unit within a building. General warranty deed is defined as a deed that promises that the guarantor owns the land and has the right to convey it, and that the land has no encumbrances other than those stated in the deed. Talked about condemnation process whereby the government acquires the ownership of private property for a public use over the protest of the owner. Zoning, government restrictions placed on the use of private property to ensure the orderly growth and development of a community and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of citizens. Personal property is defined as all property that is not real property, may be tangible or intangible. Tangible property is personal property that is material and movable like furniture. Intangible property is personal property that does not have a physical form and is usually evidenced in writings like an insurance policy. A title gives ownership of the property. Bailment, relationship in which one person, the bailer, transfers possession of personal property to another called the bailee to be used by the bailee in an agreed on manner for an agreed on time period. Going through this chapter, there were a few things that I was able to relate to as far as what I have experienced in my life. As far as water rights, we have a family farm down in Virginia, and there is water that runs through the mountains and goes into a creek, and it was said that within the land ownership, which was originally owned by my grandmother and then left in the will to my family, that the water rights were ours. And then since then, every now and then my mom will mention, because now she's the owner since my dad passed, She said that people have tried to take the water rights, or they're trying to make it to where the water can flow to their farm because they're suffering, their animals don't have the proper water, and they're trying to get water rights from her. So that's something that definitely does occur, and I'm not really sure exactly how that's all going to pan out. I know that the rights to the water is on our property. So unless she gives permission to use that, they shouldn't have access to it. And also, the other thing was that I was thinking about when I was reading through the chapter was talking about the deed and the life estate. Whenever my grandmother passed, she put it in the deed that the property was left to my father, and then he had to pay off members of the family, the other children, so that way it was like a free and clear deed. And if he didn't follow through with those steps, then the land wouldn't end up becoming his. And I guess, so my grandmother had that deed set up that way with her life estate. And then as far as leases, I have leased to individuals. I had a trailer located in a trailer park, and I asked the owner of it when I was moving out if I was able to get a renter in there that I felt was trustworthy and would pay the rent on time, if she was okay with that, and she agreed based on my payment history. So I was able to get someone into the trailer, and I did a leasing, and then we did it was considered kind of like a land contract without the documentation of it. It was a written up agreement between myself and the renter, and I said, this is the amount that's owed on the trailer, and this is what I'm going to charge you monthly for rent. And once the amount of the trailer is paid for, then I will sign over the title to you, and then you will be in possession of it, and it will belong to you. So I've had personal dealings with that. And then as a current homeowner and landowner, I have a little shy of 4 acres where I live. Definitely familiar with zoning and different things. It's frustrating at times as a landowner to know that I'm making payments on this house. I own the land, but I also have to follow zoning. If I want to do certain things on the property, I have to go to the township and get permission to do so. There's, of course, property taxes that you have to pay. There's a lot of responsibility to being a landowner. So I do understand why there are so many laws and things set in place. And then, there's some things that, I may not necessarily agree with, but of course I have to follow the laws because that's how they set it up. And I'm sure that in the end, there's a reason why everything is set up a certain way, and it's to protect everyone and to make sure that it's all equal. So that's my take on chapter 13.